I almost didn't recognize her. She was sitting alone at a corner table in the mall's food court, her shoulders hunched, fingers counting a small pile of coins. Her uniform, pale blue and frayed at the collar, hung loose on her frame. The name tag that once gleamed with proud professionalism now dangled crookedly, barely hanging on. My daughter, Sophia. I stood there frozen, watching her as she pushed coins toward the counter of a cafe kiosk for what looked like a small cup of coffee. Her eyes were fixed downward, avoiding the world, as if making eye contact would unravel her. She didn't see me, or maybe she did and just wished I'd keep walking. 2 years ago, she'd been someone else completely. Designer jackets, polished nails, the keys to a brand new SUV I'd proudly helped her purchase clinking in her hand. She had a promising career in nursing, a lovely home, a sweet little girl, and a husband who seemed at least once like a decent man. Today, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. I moved closer and spoke the way I would to a wounded bird, soft and careful. Sophia, sweetheart, what are you doing here? She looked up startled. That's when I saw them, her eyes, empty, tired, haunted. She tried to smile, a forced, crooked attempt to pretend everything was okay. Hi, Mom. Where's Emma? I asked automatically. It was Wednesday, her day off. My 4-year-old granddaughter should have been with her. Her answer cracked something in me. She's at the parka with Richard and his mom. Richard, her husband, and Diane, the woman I'd never fully trusted but tolerated for the sake of family. I sat across from Sophia, watching every movement, every shift of her eyes. Where's your Highlander, the car I co-signed for? She flinched, looked away toward the mall entrance. Richard needed it, his truck's been broken down. For a month, I asked, my voice level, but something cold was settling in my stomach. What have you been driving? There was a pause, a hesitation, a quiet war behind her silence. The bus, it's fine, Mom, really, saves on gas. She even laughed a little, but it was hollow. I finally really looked at her. Her uniform hung off her now thinner body. Her hands trembled as she held the paper cup close to her lips, and the way she kept glancing at her phone with short, nervous flicks of her eyes, it all screamed the truth she wasn't saying. Sophia, I said, reaching for her hand. What's going on? Her fingers were ice cold despite the warm California air streaming inside the food court from the glass ceiling, but she pulled away. Nothing, everything's okay, I have to go soon. Richard's going to call when they're done at the park. Why didn't you go with them? I had errands. What errands? Just little stuff. Then she stood up abruptly, as if the conversation was physically painful. I need to catch the 3:15 bus. I rose from my seat too. I'll drive you home. No. It came out sharp, almost panicked, then softer. No, Mom, really, the bus is fine. We stood there, around us life continued as usual. Children laughed, plates clattered, people ate their lunch without a care in the world. But between me and my daughter, there was only silence and pain that neither of us quite knew how to put into words yet. She didn't want me to push, but I was her mother. And for 33 years, I'd made a living as a real estate attorney, helping people, spotting lies, sniffing out manipulation and fraud. I knew fear when I saw it. And Sophia, she was afraid. Where are you living now? I asked calmly. What do you mean, the same place, the house on Maple Street? The 2-story colonial we'd admired together, white picket fence, big oak tree out front. She and Richard had moved in there just 3 years ago. I'd babysat Emma in the living room countless times. But something in her face didn't match her words. I tried a different approach. Have you eaten? I'm not hungry. Sophia Marie, sit down, I said in my mother voice, the one that still worked even after 38 years. She hesitated, then sat. I went and ordered Chinese food. When I came back, she was staring at her phone again. He's checking up on you, isn't he? I asked, placing the food between us. She didn't answer, just picked up the chopsticks and started eating like someone whose hands were on autopilot. The way she consumed the food, fast, mechanical, I knew this wasn't just a skipped lunch. She hadn't eaten properly in days, maybe weeks. My throat tightened. Sophia, please talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. Your father and I didn't raise a liar. Something's wrong. She stopped, her chopsticks paused midair. She set them down slowly. Then finally, she looked at me, and I saw it. Tears. If I tell you, Mom, it'll just make everything worse. Please just let it go. Let what go? I asked. All of it. Her voice cracked. Richard and Diane, they have everything. The house, the car, my accounts, everything. I don't make decisions anymore, and if I don't do exactly what they say, they'll. She went quiet. They'll what? They'll take Emma away. She wiped her eyes roughly, like she was mad at herself for crying. Diane said she has a lawyer. She says I'm an unfit mom because I work too much and because I can't give Emma the life she can. She told me if I so much as talk to a lawyer or say anything to anyone, Emma will be gone. Forever. The air around us felt heavier. My heart dropped. I knew what I was seeing now. This wasn't rough circumstances. This was abuse. Quiet, suffocating abuse that left no bruises but hurt just as bad. And my daughter was drowning in it. I reached for her hand again. This time she didn't flinch. Sweetheart, I whispered, you're not alone anymore. She didn't speak, but a tear rolled down her cheek as she gripped my fingers like they were the only thing keeping her anchored in the storm. She didn't let go of my hand for a long time. Her fingers were still cold, her grip uncertain, like she wasn't sure whether to hold on or run away. I waited. 33 years in law had taught me the most valuable skill of all, patience. If someone has something to say and you wait long enough in silence, the truth will eventually rise to the surface. And it did. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. 6 months ago, everything started falling apart. She looked away again. There was shame in her eyes, as if what had happened was somehow her fault. Richard lost his job, or that's what he told me. 1 minute he was getting promoted, the next, sorry honey, they cut me loose. At the time I believed him. I mean, he was my husband. I tightened my grip slightly, letting her know I was still listening. Diane kept telling us we needed to think smart, that we were wasting money on the house and car payments. So, when she suggested we move in with her to get back on our feet, I agreed. Her breath hitched like she just swallowed the words she should have spoken months ago. I didn't know they were planning it all behind my back. What do you mean? I asked gently. She blinked fast, a defense mechanism to fight tears, one she'd clearly gotten used to. After we moved out, I came back one day to grab Emma's toy box and the locks had been changed, just like that. I called Richard and he told me the house was in his name only, even though I'd paid half the mortgage from my nursing salary. I didn't even know you and Dad had paid off most of it as a gift. I felt something snap inside me, a mother's rage, fierce and quiet. So what happened to the house? They rented it, Mom. It goes for $3,800 a month and I don't see a dime of it. She rubbed her face, exhausted. Then my car, Richard said he needed it for job interviews. I believed him. That was 4 months ago. Since then it's been buses and walking. Your credit cards? I asked. She let out a hollow laugh. Gone. Diane said I was spending too much, that I was being selfish. She cut them up in front of me. And your job pay? I clenched my teeth. I already knew where this was going. Richard said we needed a joint account. He had me sign some forms, told me he'd handle the financial planning while I focused on work and Emma. Now I can't access anything. No money. I leaned forward. Did you sign over everything? I don't know, Mom. He said it was for us. But now, anytime I ask, Diane says I'm lucky they let me stay, that I'm a burden. Her voice caught. They give me $20 a week, that's it. $20, 20. My adult daughter, a licensed nurse working 12-hour shifts, begging for grocery change while her in-laws lived in a $500,000 house. Where are you sleeping? I asked, though an ominous feeling had already bloomed in my chest. She stared at the cup in front of her. In the garage. I didn't move. Didn't blink. There's an air mattress. Diane said I needed to prove I could be responsible before being allowed back in the house. Even Emma's room is off limits unless they say it's okay. I swallowed the scream building in my throat. Have you gone to the police? 3 weeks ago. And they said it was a civil matter. Because I'm married and signed away access, there's not much they can do. They told me to get a lawyer. And how are you supposed to afford a lawyer on $20 a week? She laughed again. This time it broke my heart a little more. I tried saving. I hid $40 in my work locker last month. Diane found it, called it stealing from the family. I didn't see Emma for 3 days. She locked her door and said if I tried it again, I'd lose her for good. She stared down at her fingers. I'm scared all the time, Mom. I don't know what to do anymore. Tears finally rolled down her cheeks. She didn't even wipe them away now. She passed the point of hiding. I go to work, come home, do everything they ask, and still they say I'm not good enough. I stared at my daughter, the same daughter I watched study for her NCLEX until 3 in the morning, the same girl who once dreamed of starting her own pediatric clinic, now reduced to a shadow of herself. I made a decision. Right then. Sophia. My voice was firmer now, steadier, controlled fury behind calm eyes. Do you trust me? She nodded slowly. Then I need you to listen carefully. She glanced up, unsure. You're going to go home, you're going to pretend nothing happened. Don't tell Richard, don't tell Diane, not a single word about this conversation. Can you do that? Why? Because I'm going to handle it. Her eyes widened. Mom, you can't, they'll. I held up my hand. Listen to me, I was a real estate attorney for over 30 years. Do you know what I spent most of my career handling? Property stuff. Fraud cases. I've seen people forge documents, commit financial abuse, hide assets, manipulate ownership records. And I've seen every one of them lose in court when they tried to pull those stunts on the wrong person. Her breath hitched. Are you saying? I'm saying your husband and his charming mother messed with the wrong family. For the first time in months, something changed behind her eyes. It wasn't fear. It was hope, small, flickering, and fragile. What do you need from me? She asked. 2 weeks, I said. Stay quiet, let me make some calls. She hesitated. Mom, be careful. Diane isn't just mean, she's vindictive. I gave her a smile that didn't reach my eyes. So am I. That night, after leaving the mall, I sat in my car longer than I should have. The heat of California's sun still lingered in the seats, but I felt cold. Angry. Not the kind of anger that shouts and curses. No, this was colder, quieter. The kind that only mothers who have watched someone hurt their child truly understand. Sophia had always been strong. She survived nursing school while raising a baby. She worked double shifts while managing a household. She was brave in ways even she didn't realize. But no one, not Diane, not Richard, not any smug manipulator, was going to take advantage of her again. Not on my watch. The next morning, I poured a cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and began. Telephone call 1, Margaret Chen. Margaret had been my paralegal for 15 years, sharp, fast, and relentless when hunting paperwork. After I retired, she moved on to work for one of the best family law attorneys in Los Angeles. Margaret, it's Helen, I need a favor. Her tone immediately shifted. This wasn't a social call. You name it. I explained the basics: my daughter, suspected financial and legal abuse, a coerced signature here and a legally altered deed there, oh, and a child being used as a bargaining chip. Margaret didn't hesitate. We're in full battle mode then. I'll pull property records on Maple Street. Who's the family lawyer? I'm hoping you can introduce me. By that afternoon, Margaret had secured me an appointment with Catherine Park, a high-powered, no-nonsense attorney in L.A. By evening, she'd already found public records for Maple Street. It was still co-owned. Joint names Richard and Sophia Reynolds. That fact alone changed everything. Telephone call to James Rodriguez. James was more than an old colleague, he was a friend, a former real estate lawyer who'd left law to become a private investigator, because, as he used to say, chasing the truth was more fun than filing it. James, how do you feel about some casual surveillance work? For you, always, who's the target? Financial fraud, emotional and parental abuse, possibly coerced asset transfers. I need proof of living conditions, especially the garage. Got it, text me every detail, addresses, faces, any schedule you know of. I'll start tomorrow. This was why I trusted James. He never asked too many questions unless they mattered, and he never missed the important details. Telephone call 3, Sophia's original bank. Before Richard and Diane consolidated everything, Sophia had a bank account in her maiden name. This is Helen Mitchell. I'm calling on behalf of my daughter, Sophia Mitchell Reynolds. We're trying to access account records from bank name, and I'd like to know what's required. I was transferred twice, then placed on hold. 15 minutes later, I got what I needed. With Sophia's written consent, I could access transaction histories, account changes, and signature authorizations spanning the last 2 years. And that, my friends, was proof waiting to happen. That evening, my drive-by tour of the truths. I started with the house Maple Street, the house I'd once gifted the down payment on, the house where Sophia decorated the baby's nursery, the house where I'd watched Emma open birthday presents. It was empty. A for rent sign stood crooked in the lawn like a warning. One window was half open, no furniture inside. Whoever had lived there recently was already gone. The mortgage had been paid off, which meant Richard had been collecting pure profit as rent on marital property and not giving a single cent to Sophia. I took pictures, front, side yard, sign, window, everything. Next, Diane's house, in the pristine neighborhood she always bragged about at dinners. I didn't park in front, I parked down the street, behind a line of hedges, and waited. At 7:30 p.m., Richard pulled up in Sophia's Highlander. His casual ease infuriated me, like nothing was wrong, like driving his wife's car while she rode the bus was completely normal. 15 minutes later, the garage door opened. That's when I saw it. Sophia. She sat cross-legged on an air mattress, wearing her work uniform. A lamp dangled from an extension cord. An old space heater hummed dangerously close to a bundle of clothes in a plastic bin. She was holding a paper bag, dinner, maybe, and reading something on her phone underneath a single flickering bulb. The garage had no insulation, just cement walls and a small window cracked open for air, the kind of place you store boxes, not living, breathing people. Let alone a mother. I took photos and video, everything. Then I called James. We need to accelerate the timeline. Can you be there tomorrow, 6 a.m.? Done. Over 2 weeks, the avalanche builds. While Sophia stayed quiet and kept up the act, we went to work. Margaret's findings. Maple Street property was not solely in Richard's name. No court had awarded ownership. All rent income going into an account held only by Richard. That was illegal marital asset misappropriation. James's footage. Diane rifling through Sophia's plastic bin in the garage. A recording of Diane telling Emma, "Your mommy lives out in the garage because she doesn't want to be with us." parental alienation, emotional abuse of a minor. Bank documents showed Richard had forged Sophia's signature on joint account access revocation, transfer of credit card ownership, property management forms, criminal charges, fraud, forgery, financial coercion, property corruption, potential child custody interference. Catherine, bless her, didn't even blink when we presented it all. She tapped the folder. This is one of the clearest cases of financial and emotional abuse I've seen in 8 years. How fast can we move? I asked. I can file tomorrow, emergency hearing within 7 days. Do it. Back to the food court one last time before the storm. We met again the next Tuesday. Same spot. Sophia even wore the same shoes, worn at the toes, laces fraying, but this time she wasn't sitting quite as small. Maybe it was the way she looked at me, more alert, less weight in her shoulders. Did you find anything? She asked. I slid the folder over the table. I found everything. She opened it slowly, as if afraid it might disappear. This is real, she asked, her voice trembling. Very real. This Friday you're going to court with me and Catherine. What if they fight it? Let them. We have evidence, photographs, documents, witness statements, forged signatures, and a garage that looks like a horror story. Her hands shook as she clutched the folder to her chest. Mom, I don't know how to thank you. Just promise me one thing. Anything. That you'll stand up in that courtroom, that you'll tell the truth, that you'll put Emma and yourself first for once. She took a shaky breath. I will, I swear I'm ready. I believed her. And if justice had anything to say about it, Richard and Diane were about to learn a lesson neither of them would ever forget. Never underestimate a woman with nothing to lose, especially when her mother's a lawyer. You're stronger than you think. That's what I told Sophia, and on Friday morning she proved it. The skies over Los Angeles were clear that day, one of those cool, golden mornings where everything looks possible, the kind of morning perfect for starting over. I picked her up at 8:00 a.m. sharp. She was waiting outside the hospital where her latest double shift had just ended. She hadn't had time to go home and change, but she pulled her hair back, tucked in her shirt. Her black dress shirt, one of the few professional clothes she had left, was too loose on her now thinner frame, but that, Catherine had said, was evidence in itself. You're ready for this? I asked. Sophia didn't speak right away, then she nodded, slowly, steadily. Yes, I have to be. The courthouse. We arrived early. The courthouse always smells like paper and polished wood, but to me, it smelled like truth. And power, not the kind Richard thought he had, the real kind, the kind that works through documents and dates and knows the weight of facts over threats. Richard and Diane were there already, accompanied by their lawyer, some wide-eyed man fresh out of law school who clearly hadn't read my daughter's file yet. He looked confident. That would change quickly. Richard looked startled to see Sophia with an attorney. Diane didn't look startled, she looked furious. What is this? She snapped. You can't afford a lawyer. Before either of us could answer, Catherine stepped forward, heels clipping across the marble like punctuation marks. Actually, Mrs. Reynolds, I'm representing Sophia pro bono at her mother's request. She smiled just slightly, and we're here to address a severe case of spousal financial abuse and parental coercion. Diane scoffed, completely at ease in her own bubble of denial. We've given her everything, a roof, food, a place to raise her daughter. A garage, I cut her off coldly. You gave her a cement-floored garage while you sat in your fully furnished mansion and taught a 4-year-old child to hate her mother. Diane's lawyer looked between us, confused like a man who just realized he'd walked into a bar fight thinking it was a book club. What proof do you have? He asked skeptically. Catherine lifted the leather-bound file and placed it gently on the conference table. Photos, videos, bank records, property titles, text messages, audio recordings of Diane committing parental alienation, and forged documents from Mr. Reynolds siphoning joint marital funds into personal accounts. The lawyer blinked, his pen suddenly stopped moving. Would you prefer I go line by line now or wait until we're in front of the judge? Catherine asked. There was silence, dead, heavy silence. Because they knew. We all knew. The evidence. Inside the private conference room, Catherine opened the folder and carefully laid it out. Photos of Sophia's living conditions in the garage, the air mattress, the space heater, the lack of plumbing. Bank records showing Richard had transferred over $20,000 from joint accounts into personal holdings within 2 months of moving out of the Maple Street home. Proof of forgery on financial documents Sophia never agreed to. Video evidence of Diane emotionally manipulating Emma and speaking about cutting Sophia out for good. Rental income receipts from Maple Street, $3,800/month, going into Richard's personal savings account while Sophia scraped change together for coffee. The highlight. A full recording of Diane telling a neighbor while Sophia was at work. We've broken her down, she thinks she's nothing, she's too scared to leave. That garage is the best thing for everyone. Even Diane's smile faltered as she heard her own voice on tape. The turning point. The opposing lawyer held up both hands. He looked younger than Emma's preschool teacher, suddenly unsure of what table he had sat at. I need to speak with my clients in private. We stepped out to the hallway. Sophia leaned against the wall, hands slightly shaking, but her chin held high. Are they going to jail? She whispered. Not today, I said, but this isn't over. If they contest anything, charges are waiting. What matters now is getting Emma and your life back. 15 minutes later, they walked back in and quietly agreed to a settlement. The terms, no more games. It took 3 hours of focused, firm negotiation, but by the time we walked out of that conference room, everything had changed. Round Pushpin Sophia was awarded full custody of Emma, effective immediately. Round Pushpin Richard was granted only supervised visits, twice a month, pending completion of parenting classes and therapy. Round Pushpin Sophia regained ownership of the house on Maple Street, and Richard was ordered to return all collected rent income, $22,800, in full. All bank accounts were restored, and direct access was given back to Sophia. Round Pushpin, her SUV, was returned to her. Round Pushpin Diane received nothing, no rights, no contact, not even a courtesy photo or update. Her influence was legally severed. And in the settlement text, in bold legal language crafted with great care, was a warning. If either party violates the agreed terms, full criminal charges will be pursued immediately. Retrieving Emma with the law behind us. By 4:00 p.m., we had an emergency order in hand. I'll never forget the look on Diane's face as we pulled up to her home with a police escort. She opened the front door like she owned the world, wearing pearls and a robe. That confidence evaporated when she saw the 2 uniformed officers beside us. You can't do this, we've raised that child, she needs stability. She needs her mother, I said, stepping forward. And now she has her. Emma ran straight into Sophia's arms the moment we got to the living room. Mommy, are we going home now? Yes, baby, Sophia whispered, eyes full of tears, holding her tightly. We're going home. We packed everything Sophia had left in the garage, 2 bins, a backpack of nursing scrubs, an old toy rabbit Emma had forgotten. It didn't take long. They left her with so little. Leaving them behind. As Sophia buckled Emma into the back seat, Richard stood on the driveway, limp and disarmed. "Sophia, I'm sorry, I didn't think it would." She didn't even lift her eyes to him. "You let her treat me like garbage," she said. "You watched, you helped, and you lied, so no, you're not sorry, you're just sorry it ended." Then she closed the car door. And just like that, we left. The sunset painted Maple Street in warm gold as we pulled up to the house. Leaves rustled softly in the breeze, and the great oak tree in the front yard moved like it was breathing, watching. The same tree where Emma had once hung wind chimes and where Richard had promised Sophia they'd grow old together. Maybe promises like that die quietly, but not dreams. Dreams come back. And now, after everything, we were home. Sophia stepped out of the car slowly. The keys to her own house trembled in her hand. She looked across the white picket fence, the porch swing, the windows she hadn't looked out of in half a year. "It feels like, I don't know, like it's not real," she said, blinking hard. Beside her, Emma tugged on her sleeve. "Is this our real house again, Mommy?" Sophia knelt to meet her daughter's eyes and smiled, a full, unguarded, real smile. "Yes, baby, this is home, forever this time." Emma threw her arms around her mother's neck, and I watched the weight of 6 months begin to let go. Starting over. Inside, the house had been vacated just days before. The last tenants had barely left a trace, no furniture, no clutter, just clean floors, blank rooms, and a sense of possibility. Sophia walked from room to room slowly, touching the walls like she expected them to dissolve under her fingers. In Emma's old bedroom, the light still fell in through the same east-facing window. Her princess wallpaper was faded but intact. Her toy box stood in the corner, dusty but waiting. "Mommy, can I sleep here tonight?" "Yes, sweetheart, you can sleep here every night now." And that night, for the first time in months, Sophia slept in a bed. Emma, tucked beside her under soft blankets, snored lightly. The fan hummed. The silence was peaceful, not scary. In the kitchen, I brewed tea and waited. When Sophia joined me, her eyes were puffy, but not from sadness, from release. She looked like a different woman already, tired, yes, but awake. "I keep thinking it's not real," she said again. "That I'll wake up on the garage floor with Diane banging on the door." I passed her the tea. "It's real now, and it's over." And then she cried, not like before, not silent, hiding behind a smile, tears. This was deeper. The kind of crying you only do when pain finally finds a way out. I held her the way I used to when she was a little girl with skinned knees and math tests, as if I could carry her hurt, and for the first time in a very long time, I think I really could. "Thank you," she whispered, "for always believing me." "Of course I believed you," I said. "I'm your mother, that's what we do, we fight for you, even when you're too tired to fight for yourself." 6 months later. The oak tree had leaves again, thick, full, and green. We hung a tire swing from the strongest branch and tossed white picnic blankets in the backyard. It was Emma's 5th birthday, and she wore a wrinkled pink princess dress and a crooked paper crown. Her laughter rang through the yard like music. Sophia took photos, passed out cake slices, and mingled with new friends from Emma's preschool. She looked whole. She gained the weight back. The dark circles under her eyes were gone. She smiled freely now, those rare, radiant smiles that reached all the way to the soul. "Gamma, Gamma, look at me," Emma called. She ran and jumped into the swing, squealing. I laughed and waved as she twisted in circles. "She looks free," Sophia said softly, joining me. "She is," I replied. "So are you." Aftermath of justice. Richard had done the parenting classes, took a part-time job. Every 2 weeks he had supervised visits with Emma. According to the court visitation supervisor, he was learning. Slowly, maybe one day he'd earn loose trust again. But Diane, she tried twice to get back into Sophia's life. 2 different lawyers filed for grandparental rights, waving thin arguments and fabricated claims of emotional bond. Each time, Catherine shut her down with a single page. supported by signed affidavits, video evidence, and a not-so-subtle warning that we hadn't even started with criminal charges. After that, we never heard from Diane again. A final conversation. As the party wound down and children began saying their goodbyes, Sophia handed me a lemonade and leaned beside the porch railing. "Do you remember blowing out candles when you were a kid?" she asked randomly. "Sure," I said. "I probably wished for ponies, maybe a treehouse." She laughed. "I don't even remember what I used to wish for at 5. She looked at Emma, running barefoot through the grass, her hair flying in waves of sunlight. "But I know what I'd wish for now." "What's that?" Sophia sighed softly, the kind of breath people exhale when peace finally visits their heart. "Nothing," she said. "I wouldn't wish for anything, I have everything I need now." I blinked fast, not because of dust, just emotion. I put an arm around her like I had so many times before, but this time I didn't feel like I needed to hold her up. This time she was already standing tall. "Yeah," I whispered. "I might too." The epilogue, stronger than you know. Before this happened, I used to believe family was about bloodlines, holidays, birthdays, and smiles in photo albums. Now I know better. Family is who shows up when it gets ugly. Who holds your hand after you say, "I'm fine." Who doesn't just listen, but hears the silence you're too afraid to fill. Richard and Diane had forgotten that. In the end, they thought control would win. But they didn't count on Sophia's strength, or mine. They didn't count on a mother who's filed enough fraud claims to know a forged signature from across the room. They didn't count on justice making a late but unavoidable arrival. They lost. And Sophia. She walked out of the wreckage alive. Not just surviving, but free, clear-eyed, steady. A fighter who didn't even know how powerful she'd been, all while afraid, all while exhausted. That strength, that kind, it's the hardest to break. Now when I visit Maple Street, I see it in everything. In the tire swing dancing under the oak tree. In the juice cartons half drank on the porch. In the weathered welcome, Matt waiting to be stepped on 100 more times. Emma, with frosting on her chin and laughter in her voice, ran up one last time as the sky turned pink. "Gamma, Gamma, one more game, please." I smiled. "Anything for you, sweetheart." Sophia watched us, her arms crossed, her eyes soft. And as we leaned into that moment, the three of us under the California sky, I thought, this is what hope looks like when it wins.